Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has given us unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure or admire an old one. What will we find today? Let's dig in. Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
We like to be in control, don't we? Or at least we like to feel like we're in control, like our life is manageable. But all of that is really an illusion. We're not in control of anything. God is. Ironically, the only thing we're in control of is what we do when things seem out of control. In 2 Kings 4, we meet a woman whose life seems to be in a free fall. She had been the wife of a prophet, most likely highly respected in her community. But then her husband died, and she was left a widow with 2 sons to care for. If that wasn't bad enough, her husband's creditors came knocking, and she had no money to give them. Being a prophet was not a highly lucrative business, I'm sure. So the creditors informed her that they would be back to take her sons into slavery to pay the debt. Now, besides barrenness, that was about the worst thing that could happen to a woman at that time. What was she to do? Even if she managed to keep the creditors at bay, it seemed she didn't have enough to live off of. At this point, the widow went to Elisha and presented her case. Elisha asked, "What do you have in your house?" Apparently, she was down to her last jar of oil. I wonder if she knew the story of the widow of Zarephath. Was this woman thinking, maybe Elisha can help me like Elijah helped her? Or was she thinking, my husband and I were faithful. Why is God allowing this to happen? We don't know where her level of faith was at this point, but she knew where to go when she was in trouble, as should we. The Lord is in control, and He has a plan. Elisha sent her off to borrow jars, and not just a few. He told her to pour the oil into these containers. Isn't it neat how he got her friends and neighbors in on this miracle? And her sons, too. They helped by bringing her the jars. This woman had a chance to exercise her faith. After selling the oil, not only could she pay off the debt and live off of the rest until her sons were old enough to work, but for the rest of her life, she could tell others what God had done for her in her time of need. What she learned, she could pass on to others. In fact, what God did for her was highly symbolic of this. Oil was known as fuel, both for the body and for lamps. Abundant oil was a sign of prosperity. It was used for anointing to set apart priests and kings for their calling. It was a symbol of God's provision of richness, joy, and health. But it can also be seen as a symbol of faith, like in Jesus' parable of the virgins. Of course, not every reference to oil in the Bible is symbolic, but when someone pointed this out to me in this story, I thought it was pretty exciting. The woman started out with a small amount of faith, a small amount of oil, and she gathered the jars from everyone she knew, empty jars with no oil. Think of those as people with no faith who don't know the Lord. And she poured oil into them. That oil multiplied and became plenty for all the jars to be filled. She didn't run out until the last of these jars was completely filled. That's how it is with faith. We can share it continuously, pouring ourselves into others, seeing each person that we meet as a possible empty jar that God can use us to fill with His light, joy, and spiritual health. Is your jar full today? If not, ask God to fill it. Do you have someone you're intentionally pouring into? If not, pray for an empty jar to fill and look for them as you go today.
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. We'd love to hear the treasures God has given you through His Word. You can listen to other episodes at our website, which you can find in the description below. Thanks for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.